Welcome back again, coffee beans. This is General Agriculture, Definition of Terms, Part 5.
Seedbed, the soil zone, which affects the germination and emergence of seeds. Seed stock, breeding animals, sometimes used interchangeably with purebred. Segregation, simply means separation or sorting out and refers to the way in which the genes separate out in subsequent generations. Selection is a process in which certain genotypes contribute more progeny in the next generation than other genotypes. Selection may take place because of natural forces, natural selection, or because of the intervention of man, artificial selection. Selection harvest, harvesting individual trees or small groups or trees at periodic intervals, usually 8–15 years, based primarily on their vigor and age. Selection harvesting perpetuates an uneven-aged stand. Selfed, pollinated by pollen from same plant. Self-mulching soils, refer to soils with a naturally formed well-aggregated surface which does not crust and seal under the impact of raindrops. Semi-arid climate, climate characterized as neither entirely arid nor humid, but intermediate between the two conditions. Seminal root, refers to a root arising from the base of the hypocotyl. Senescence, is the process or condition of growing old. Sequential planting, this is done by planting short-season, drought-tolerant crops after rice, more especially upon failure of the rice crop due to pests. Serum, is the clear yellowish fluid obtained after separation from the clotted cellular element of the whole blood. Service, to breed or mate. Service spore, any male boar that is being, or has been, used for breeding purposes. Service braking system, the primary systems used for retarding and stopping a machine. Sewage, the spent water of the community. Term now being replaced in technical usage of wastewater. Sexual fertilization, is the union of two haploid gametes to yield a single diploid zygote. Sexual reproduction, is a form of reproduction wherein the male and female sex organs are involved in the process of propagation. Shake, a separation along the grain, the greater part of which occurs between the rings of annual growth. Found in stumps and ends of freshly cut logs and green lumber, see ring failure. Shearer, a subclass of lamb-denoting animals that are in full fleece and that are purchased primarily for their wool. Shearing, clipping of fleece from sheep or Angora goats. Shearling, a yearling sheep with 2 teeth. Shearling or two-tooth, a yearling sheep. Sheep, this term includes ovine animals of all ages in practice. However, this is divided on the basis of age into A, sheep, B, lamb. Sheep are ovine animals that include all those approximately 1 year of age. Shelled corn is a grain of either dent or flint varieties of the plant maize. This is also known as maize or corn grain. Shingle, 1, brush, paving, or cover placed with each overlapping layer extending farther upstream as in the manner of laying shingles. 2, a covering of stones, larger than gravel, developed on a beach or streamed. Shoat, young pig after weaning. Shoat, a young swine of either sex weighing approximately 50 kilos. Short run, refers to a time period where one or more of the factors of production are fixed. Shrink, loss of weight commonly used to describe the loss in live that occurs when animals are marketed or loss in weight from grease wool to clean wool. Shriveled and immature grains, are grains or pieces of grains which are not fully developed, thin and papery in appearance. Shy breeder, a male or female of any domesticated livestock that has a low reproductive efficiency. Siblings, refers to the offspring of the same parietal plants. Side dressing fertilizer, is applied between the rows close to the plants, simultaneous without cultivation. This is very effective during the developing stage of the plant when they feed on nutrients very rapidly. Signal word, the word that designates a degree or level of hazard seriousness. Signal word panel, area of the safety sign that contains the signal word and the safety alert symbol. Silt, Soil particles, which constitutes the physical fraction of a soil between 0.005 mm and 0.055 mm in diameter. Silviculture, a branch of forestry dealing with the development and care of forests. Simple, globular proteins are those proteins yielding only amino acids or their derivatives upon hydrolysis, that is, albumins, histones, protamins, globulins, glutelins, prolamins. Simple interest refers to the interest paid in one period. Singeing, cleaning the carcass by burning the hair. Single cross refers to the first generation hybrid between two inbred lines. Sinking fund is a fund set aside periodically before dividends are declared for the purpose of retiring the bond at maturity. Sire, the male parent. To father or to beget. Slick spot, small areas of sodic soil, relatively impervious to water, that appear to be slick when wet, as a result of high exchangeable sodium content. Small fruits are trees yielding relatively small fleshy fruits. Small population size, it would result in change in the gene frequency simply because of chance variation. The extent by which the change in the frequency of an allele, say A, could deviate from the expected frequency Q is inversely proportional to the size of the population. Sod, plowed by meadow of pasture. Sodic soil, a nonsaline soil containing sufficient exchangeable sodium to adversely affect crop production and soil texture. Sodium absorption ratio, SAR, the proportion of soluble sodium ions in relation to the soluble calcium and magnesium ions in the soil water extract. Sodium percentage refers to the percentage of total cations of sodium in water or soil solution. Soft, a form of soil consistency that is characterized by friability. Soil is a natural body composed of mineral and organic material on the surface of the earth in which plants grow. Soil aeration, it is the process by which air and other gases enter the soil or are exchanged. Soilage, freshly cut green forage fed to animals in confinement. Also called green chop. Soil aggregates, agglomerations of primary soil particles which are produced by natural processes. Soil amendment, soil conditioner, is a soil additive which stabilizes the soil, improves resistance to erosion, increases permeability to air and water, improves texture and resistance of the surface to crusting, eases cultivation or otherwise improves soil quality. Soil anisotropy, the occurrence of a vertical horizon sequence in soils causes vertical anisotropy to be an essential characteristic. Frequently this vertical anisotropy can also be observed in thin sections. Soil colloid is the tiniest of all soil particles, so very small that it can be seen only under an electron microscope. Colloid has the ability to absorb plenty of water and is responsible for causing many soils to become plastic or sticky when wet. Soil density, weight of a unit of soil expressed on either a wet basis, including water and soil, or on a dry basis. Soil organic matter, organic fraction of the soil, including plant and animal residues in various stages of decomposition, cells and tissues of soil organisms, and substances synthesized by the soil population. Soil profile, a section of 2 dimensions extending vertically from the Earth's surface so as to expose all the soil horizons and a part of the relatively unaltered underlying material. Soil series, the lowest category of U.S. system of soil taxonomy. A conceptualized class of soil bodies having similar characteristics and arrangement. The soil profile. Soil structure is the tendency of soil particles to clump together or form aggregates. Soil survey, the systematic examination and mapping of soil. Soil taxonomy, the systematic arrangement of soils into groups or categories on the basis of their characteristics. Soil texture is the relative proportion of the various size groups of individual soil grain. Soil textural triangle, a 3-phase scale used to define soil into a soil textural group. Soil water, all water stored in the soil. Solanaceous, are vegetables that yield edible fresh fruits. Solar time, time measured from solar noon. Solubility, it refers to the amount of a substance that will dissolve in a given amount of another substance, typically water. Solum, refers to the upper part of the soil profile, the A and B horizons. Solvency, means having enough money to pay debts as they fall due. Solvent, usually liquid, capable of dissolving or dispersing one or more other substances. Sorghum, a cereal grass used mainly for feed grain or silage. Source, refers to the person or organization that originates and encodes the message. Sow, a mature female pig. Pas, any breeding female pig that has farrowed. Soybeans, a legume crop, native to the Orient, used mainly in the United States for high-protein feed and oil. Special sensor, a sensing device that does not fall in either normally open sensor or normally closed sensor. Specification, a concise statement of a set of requirements to be satisfied by a product, material or a process indicating whenever appropriate, the procedure by means of which it may be determined whether the requirements given are satisfied. Specific retention, amount of water that a unit volume or porous media or soil, after being saturated, will retain against the force of gravity. Splitting, dividing carcass into parts. Spoils, dirt or rock that has been removed from its original location, destroying the composition of the soil in the process, as with strip mining or dredging. Spore, refers to a single-celled reproductive bodies produced by fungi. Spray, to surgically remove the ovaries of a female. Squab, young dove or pigeon. Squeaker, a pigeon that is ready to leave the nest and just starting to eat. Stubble length, the length of the straightened plant stalk still attached to the ground after the crop has been harvested expressed in millimeters. Staffing, is concerned with locating prospective employees to fill the job created by the organizing process. Involves the process of reviewing the credentials of the candidates for the jobs and trying to match the job demands with applicants' abilities. Stag, a male cattle castrated after sexual maturity. Stain, a discoloration in wood that may be caused by such diverse agencies as microorganisms, metal, or chemicals. The term also applies to materials used to impart color to wood. Stallion, is a mature male horse intended for breeding. Stallion, a mature male horse. Stamen, is the pollen-bearing organ of a flower. Staminate, having stamens but no pistils. Stand, a recognizable area of plants that is relatively homogeneous and can be managed as a single unit. Standardization, is the process of formulating and applying rules in an orderly approach to a specific activity for the benefit and with the cooperation of all concerned, and in particular for the promotion of optimum overall economy taking due account of functional conditions and safety requirements. Starter solution, is a liquid that contains dissolved fertilizer nutrients and is applied to plants to facilitate growth. Steer, a male cattle that has been castrated before the secondary sex character develop. Step potential, the potential difference between 2 points on the Earth's surface separated by a distance of 1 pace. Sterility or barrenness, complete and permanent reproductive failure in animals. Sticker sin, crosses, strip, piling strip, a wooden strip, or its substitute, placed between sources of lumber or other wood products in a pile, unit package, or kiln truckload and at right angles to the long axis of the stock, to permit air or circulate between the layers. Sticky, a form of soil consistency that exhibits the property of stickiness or adherence to various objects. Stillbirth, expulsion of dead fetus at the end of gestation period. Stochastic process, refers to a process which is governed by chance, time-dependent. Stock, a supply of seed of a crop variety. Stocker, cattle, a weaned cattle that is fed high roughage diets, including grazing, before going into the feedlot. Stolon, a modified propagating, creeping stem above ground that produces roots. Straight-run chicks, are unclassified baby chicks. Stratified soils, are soils that are composed of layers usually varying in permeability and texture. Stride is the complete cycle in the movements of the legs at any of the gaits of the animal. Strip cropping is the practice of growing different crops in alternate strips across the slope to serve as barriers for soil erosion. Strongly anaerobic, poorly drained, soil that remains very wet or waterlogged for long periods of the year and as a result develops a mottled pattern of grays and browns. Stopping distance, a means of measuring the stopping distance with an accuracy of ±1%. Stubble, the basal portion of the stems of plants left standing after cutting. Stubble mulch, a protective cover provided by leaving plant residues of any previous crop as a mulch on the soil surface when preparing for the following crop. Stud, a unit of selected animals kept for breeding purposes, of bulls and horses. Abbreviation for stud horses, a stallion. Stud horse is a mature breeding horse. Stunning renders an animal insensible before it is killed. Subbing, the process of a crop obtaining water directly from a shallow water table. Subcutaneous, situated beneath, or occurring beneath, the skin. Sublimation is a change of phase from solid into a vapor, which may provide refrigeration. Subsistence farm, a low-income farm where the emphasis is on production for use of the operator and the operator's family rather than for sale. Subsoil is that part of soil below plow depth or below the horizon. Suburban farmstead, it consists primarily of residence and small service buildings, where the essential farm operations area carried on with hired services. Sucker, a tiller. A shoot produced from a crown or rhizomes or in tobacco, from axillary buds. Suckling, a young pig from birth up to weaning. Sulfide rock-forming minerals are formed by direct union of an element with sulfur. Examples are pyrite, chelusite, galena, and sphalerite. Superovulation, the hormonally induced ovulation of a greater than normal number of eggs. Superpest is a that has developed a resistance to an insecticide that has been genetically engineered into a plant, or externally applied to a crop it was once tolerant of. Superweed is a weed that has developed a resistance to a herbicide or weed killer that once destroyed it. Supplement, a feed used with another feed to improve the nutritive balance of the total ration. Supplementary enterprise refers to when the production of one can be increased without increasing or decreasing the production of the other. Sustainability basically refers to those that encompass a holistic approach and such aims as preserving natural and non-renewable resources and intergenerational equity. Sustainable agriculture, an integrated system of plant and animal production practices having a site-specific application that will, over the long term, satisfy food and fiber needs, enhance environmental quality and natural resources, make the most efficient use of non-renewable resources and on-farm resources, integrate natural biological cycles and controls, sustain the economic viability of farm operations, enhance the quality of life. Sustainable development, development that ensures that the use of resources and the environment today does not restrict their use by future generations. Swine is a general term for any class of animal belonging to the family Suidae of either sex. Symbiosis, two organisms that live together for their mutual benefit. Fungus and alga that forms a lichen or nitrogen-fixing bacteria living in roots are examples of symbiosis. The individual organisms are called symbionts. Symbiotic nitrogen fixation is the fixation of nitrogen by bacteria infesting the roots of legumes while benefiting the legume crop. Synergism, the simultaneous action of separate agencies which, together, create a greater total effect than the sum of their individual effects. System, a group of devices or an organization forming a single network to serve a common purpose. System, crop production, a combination of the various subsystems required for culture of all crops grown on a particular farm. Hope it helps. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for the next part. Please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, like this video and comment your suggestion on topic you want to hear. Bye. by roar.